Welcome to March 1st, everybody. Daily Devotions. It's good to be with you today. So we're going to be talking about Mark chapter 8 today. That's the text from Sunday. I've been kind of fascinated with it this past week in preparation for preaching just because it's that text where Jesus says, if you want to become my followers, pick up your cross and follow me, to talk about what that means, what the cross means, because it's such a hard message, I think, to hear, pick up your cross. And immediately it's a burden because we know that it's about suffering and death and all of that. So I want to read the text today and then talk a little bit about it. So we're in Mark chapter 8, and we're at the 31st verse. Then Jesus began to teach them that the Son of Man must undergo great suffering and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days rise again. He said all this quite openly, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But turning and looking at his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan, for you're setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things." He called the crowd with his disciples and said to them, "If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake and for the sake of the gospel will save it. For what will it profit them to gain the whole world and forfeit their life? Indeed, what can they give in return for their life? Those who are ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of them the Son of Man will also be ashamed when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels." And we'll stop there. I want to focus in on that term, Son of Man. I talked a little bit about it on Sunday if you were listening, and if you weren't, it's this I guess old designation that comes out of Ezekiel and Daniel, at least for sure. It may pop up in other places that I don't know about, but in Ezekiel and Daniel, it's a primary designation, and for Ezekiel, it's the title that's applied to Ezekiel as the human messenger of God, the human prophet of God. And in Daniel, there's this cosmic significance that's given to Son of Man, but the emphasis is still human. It says, one like a Son of Man coming down. And what I want to point out is just what Jesus is doing. How Son of Man, or it also could mean Son of Adam, or, Son of Adam would be a clear connection to humanity. And what I want to point out today and have you just start to think about for this week as we move into this text more and as we move towards Lent and or move into further into Lent and towards Easter is Jesus coming down and becoming incarnate was about aligning himself with us in a real way and in a true way and in a way that caused him real pain and real struggle. And the cross was a real thing for Jesus. It was a real burden for him as well. For me, sometimes when I hear or talk to people about picking up your cross and following me, Christianity somehow becomes this, well, I don't know, a sacrificial living, and that just flat out becomes true. But what I think we miss, and I know what I miss sometimes when I think about it, is it was a sacrifice for Jesus too. This would not have been his plan if there would have been another way. And I think that's so profound because he leaves us in the world acknowledging that what we're called to do as people of God is hard, right? We're called to use our lives to bless other people. We're called to live in the world as Christ's body and be that good news to the world. And to think that's easy or that there's some other purpose other than that starts to get things confused. But it's a challenge and it's not easy. But when we look at Jesus, he aligned himself with us as a human, and then he invites us to align ourselves with him as divine. And that's the Daniel and the Ezekiel interconnection. There is one uses Son of Man human, one uses Son of Man human divine, and Jesus is there translating that into your life so that you can see he came to be you, but he invites you to align yourself with him. So think about this. At the end of Mark's gospel, Jesus, the Son of Man, this human who's going to carry a cross shortly, is in the Garden of Gethsemane praying, and he's saying, Father, take this cup from me, but not my will, but yours. And remember, he invites Peter in this text to turn his mind and focus on divine things instead of the human things. And so Jesus is doing that same thing. Not what I want, but what you want. And then on the cross, when he's actually dying, he says, Why have you forsaken me, God? And just think about today that your Lord is so fully invested in your life that he feels and opened himself up to all of those same things that you're feeling, abandonment, forsakenness, so that you could see that the divine will in the world of love and sacrificial living is actually the way, and that when we're not strong enough to do it, Jesus is doing it for us and giving us grace upon grace, but that in the end, he is just wholly and completely committed and with you in everything. I hope you have a blessed day today, and may you find a little bit of new life today and a new way of living through Christ your Lord.